Yes, but no. Sugar? Oh, I love it. The most dangerous white powder on the planet. Fats? Yeah, more like getting overweight, yes. Any ideas? Sleep? All good answers, but not the right answer. And I've asked doctors this question all the time. They all get it wrong. The answer is not blood pressure or smoking or stress or obesity. It's age. Yes. The older you get, the greater your risk for critical illness. Now, that's a bit of a lame answer, but let me tell you something about age. All right? It's not the donuts or the smoking, it's the candles on your cake that have the biggest influence. But you have two ages. You've got your chronological age, that's how many candles are on your cake, that's what your ID book says, you can do nothing about that. But you have a biological age. That's the age of your cells, your systems, your organs. That age you can control. That age you can slow down. You can almost reverse that age. We have agency when it comes to our biological age. And at this point, a lot of people are going, okay, I get you, but what you're about to tell me, I don't want to hear, because you're going to tell me I've got to get up at 5 a.m. and hit the gym every single day. I've got to eat salads, run marathons, meditate like a monk, inject peptides. No. So the good news is, if you look at the Blue Zone people, Okinawa, Sardinia, they are drinking wine, eating carbs, laughing a lot. They're not chewing ice and sucking on kale, or sucking on ice and chewing on kale, whatever. This avoidance of critical illness is not joyless self-denial. There's lots to be said in science around play and pleasure and purpose when it comes to avoiding disease, all right? The other big criticism for this, not how old you are really, is this. Okay, so if I focus on my biological age, I make myself younger, I avoid the risk factors, but if I've got bad genes, I'm pretty screwed anyway. No, big myth. Let me explain that to you. Your genes, what your parents gave to you, you can do nothing about. That's your personal blueprint, all right? It's done, it's set in stone. Your epigenetics, that's your genetics. Your epigenetics is how your genes get expressed, how they play out, how they are read, all right? A better description for epigenetics is your lifestyle. So you might have inherited a risk from your parents for heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer. But that risk is your genetics, it's not your epigenetics. Your lifestyle can tone down that risk. It can almost turn off that bad gene. How you choose to eat and sleep and move and connect with people. I'll give you a very personal example. Fat me, okay? That's not a before or after picture, thankfully. It's a what could be picture. I have the, thank you for the, like, there's this shock in the room, like, oh my God, no. He's gray and he's fat. I'm like, oh, what has happened, you know? I have the obesity gene. That's what my parents gave to me. Thank you, Mom and Dad. You gave me a pointy nose and small ears and a massive forehead, but you gave me the obesity gene, really? And I remember reading that thinking, oh my word, I'm just so disheartened. I literally plopped into a couch, opened up a bag of crisps and just started stuffing my face because bring it on, I'm going to get fat. But then I got over myself, read the science, and it turns out if I'm active on a daily basis, I can turn off that bad gene. I can stop obesity. And obesity is a risk factor for so many critical illnesses. I get to stop that by my lifestyle. DNA is not my destiny, and neither is it yours. In fact, this is the ratio of genetics to lifestyle. When you talk about luck, it's 7% genetics, 93% lifestyle. Okay? You have agency over your risk for critical disease. So if how we live makes such a difference, how then shall we live? Guys, those are the 4 boring, unsexy cheat codes that are largely free. It's how you eat, how you sleep, how you exercise, and how you connect with others. It's not the amount of steps you take on a daily basis. It's who you take those steps with that matters way more. Given the time we have allotted, I can't go into any of those. In fact, I'm going to go into one very briefly, sleep. It's the one thing a lot of us just don't get right, and it's an easy fix. When it comes to sleep, the issue is testicles. Seriously. Testicles, yeah, sorry. Men who sleep 5 hours or less have got smaller testicles than men who sleep 7 hours or more. It's a scientific fact, guys. And I suddenly see the cameras going to the men in the room, like 5 hours or less on one night, and your testosterone drops by 10 to 15%. Okay? That's the kind of drop we see over 10 to 15 years in a man's life. Now, it's not a critical disease. But if you ask any man in this room, that's pretty critical to them, because a man with a low testosterone is basically belly fat, low muscle mass, foggy brain, and a libido that takes more naps than you do. Okay? Not cool. Okay? But it's not just testosterone, obviously. In fact, if you're sleeping 5 hours or less, ladies, everybody, your risk of heart disease goes up by 50%. Your diabetes risk goes up by 25%. If you're not getting enough sleep, your brain's lymphatic system can't clear out the toxins that your brain is floating in, and you end up floating in toxic waste, and your risk for Alzheimer's goes through the roof. You've got cells in your bodies called natural killer cells. Their sole purpose is to identify and destroy cancerous cells in your body. If you're sleeping 5 hours or less, your natural killer cells drop by 70%. So your risk for cancer goes like that. That's why the World Health Organization describes shift work as carcinogenic. Guys, sleep is almost the be-all and the end-all. It's not laziness. It's not rest. It's active recovery. Guard your sleep. 7 hours minimum. Consistent. Your body loves consistency. If you're getting 7 hours, but it's to bed at 9 o'clock one night, and then 11 o'clock the other, and then 1 in the morning, it doesn't work. Consistency, 7 days a week. All right? And please, Google that, ChatGPT, do whatever you must do, get your sleep hygiene right. Your room should be like Batman, cool, dark, quiet. Ha! And let me spend 30 seconds on one of the strongest levers we can pull when it comes to preventing critical illness. Exercise, guys. I've got a friend who doesn't exercise. It's not that obesity runs in his family, it's that nobody runs in his family. And he's a medical doctor. And so he saw this study. This is a study of 750,000 people that looked at the number one risk for early death, talk about critical illness. Unfit, a sedentary lifestyle, is the most risky thing you can do when it comes to critical illness. It's just, and the good news is because it's so bad for you, just a little bit of wins and gains makes a big difference. The encouragement to you is just move more. Get into gym. Just walk a lot. Ladies, forget the pink weights. Pick up heavy weights. You want muscle. That's your armor. That's your longevity. Get muscle. You're not going to bulk up like She-Hulk. You're not going to get hair on your top lip. I promise you, you want muscle. All right? Exercise, vital. In fact, it reduces the risk of 13 cancers significantly and protects you from diabetes like you will not believe. It's a hack that's got wonderful science. I don't want to go into it. You're just going to have to trust me on that. Exercise is key. So sleep and exercise. And don't do this. Because outside of exercise, the other thing we need to do is something called NEAT. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Forget it. All it means is the energy you burn when you're not exercising but still moving. When you use your hands, when you talk, when you get up in meetings and you make a phone call and you pace or you skip to the bathroom, whatever, do that. The more movement you can do, the better, because that is killing us. You've heard sitting is the new smoking? It comes out of a study that showed for every cigarette you smoke, you shorten life expectancy by 11 minutes. For every hour you sit, you shorten life expectancy by 22 minutes. Shall we stand? Let me land with this, and then I'm going to introduce you to our wonderful guests. Lots to do, lots of strategies. How do I know it's all going to work, Michael? How do I know it's going to reduce my risk for critical illness? Because that's really what I want to know. If you tell me to do all these things, I invest time and money. How do I know? Well, let me tell you this story, and then we land with this. During the Second World War, bombers would return. Military analysts mapped the bullet holes on those planes to figure out where they should reinforce the plane. The tail, the fuselage, until one young mathematician went, hang on a second, surely we should map the bullet holes on the planes that didn't return, because that's where we need reinforcing. Those bullet holes were in the cockpit and in the engine. We make the same mistake in health. We measure the wrong things. We measure the easy things. What does it say on the scale? How many steps did I take today? What is my cholesterol for the year? The one metric that you need to be measuring and you need to know is your VO2 max. Your VO2 max is your body's ability to use oxygen. It's your power output. That is probably one of the strongest proxies for your risk for critical illness. If your VO2 max is high, your risk for critical illness is low. If your VO2 max is low, TikTok. And not the cool TikTok, if you know what I mean. All right. Please monitor that, guys. Because this is what I want to land with you and leave with you. Most people think when it comes to critical illness, I'll get a checkup once a year and take a statin if I have to. You are not going to prevent critical illness in a doctor's office. You're going to prevent critical illness by what's on your plate, by what happens in the bedroom, sleep, and those running shoes that have got too much dust in them. That's how you prevent critical illness day to day. You reduce your risk drastically. But one day, that curveball does still happen. You can't avoid that. It might happen to you. What do you do then? And that's what we're going to talk about next. How are you resilient? You can reduce risk, but when the curveball comes, are you going to be the one that's steady and ready and can take the knock and stay standing? Please welcome to the stage two wonderful guests, Tanya de Cavallo. I never said right. Tanya de Cavallo. Cavallo. I don't know. Tanya. Let's give Tanya and Yureta Botma. Thank you. Yureta, thank you. I'm just going to get my iPad. I actually completely.
It's a good starting point.
It's a good start, getting that. Guys, Tanya is living with a critical illness, something called multiple sclerosis. I'll explain that to you in a moment. It's why we helped her onto stage. Yureta is a product specialist that knows way too much than most of us in the room, but Yureta, which is a good thing. The look you gave me there for a moment was like, what are you saying? Yureta, I want to start with you, and I think the question that often gets asked too late is, how do we know what kind of protection we need when it comes to critical illness?
Thank you, Michael. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you've spent a wonderful day here at Science of Success, and I trust that the most important thing that you've learned during the course of the day is the importance of having a relationship with a financial advisor with whom you can have an honest conversation about your personal needs, your circumstances, and what your responsibilities are in life, because they will be able to guide you, tell you which are the products and the benefits that you specifically need based on your personal needs. Now today, we're just going to focus on critical illness. So it's a product that's designed based on a number of defined critical illnesses that Michael alluded to a bit earlier as well. Your cancers, your heart diseases, multiple sclerosis, endocrine system, nervous system, and so forth. What we're not talking about today, and just to give some clarity, is what we call disability cover. Disability cover looks at what is your potential to be able to perform the duties of your employment or your workplace, and what happens in the event of a disease or illness and your income needs to be replaced. That is slightly different to what we are talking to today. So I just wanted to clear that up for
So
you.
if I lose my voice, that's disability.
Yes, you can no longer sit here, but you'll make a good model. So you can just sit still.
But 20 years ago, maybe.
So what I just want to touch on today is particularly, Michael, on your personal profile, your personal risk profile, and what that looks like. So if we also take the example of cancer, and we look particularly at women, can any one of you tell me what do you think is the cancer that's mostly diagnosed with women? Breast, yes, well done. So according to the US statistics, it says that 32% of cancer diagnoses in women are respect of breast cancer, and then followed by lung cancer. The reason, and some of the things that Michael mentioned earlier on, the risks that you face that will result in you likely being diagnosed with breast cancer include, and it's a combination of genetic factors, your daily habits, as well as life choices. So we looked at this a little bit earlier on. Your genes. If your mother, your father, a family member was diagnosed with a critical illness, you've got a 1 in 10 chance of being diagnosed with breast cancer. If your sister or your mother had breast cancer, that risk is likely to double. And if you've got a gene mutation that has been observed, that risk can actually be 5 to 7 times. Your daily habits, and we talked to this extensively earlier on, exercise, your excess weight, particularly after menopause, adds to your risk. Things like alcohol consumption, tobacco consumptions, and lack of exercise, the most important thing that we need to look at. But then again as well, your life choices. If you have a child after the age of 30, or decide not to have a child, you're also exposed to elevated risk. So I just wanted to give you an indication that when you plan, when you do financial planning, also have a look at what does your personal health tell you about yourself. Because this will also guide you in terms of what is the protection that is most important to you. And it, apologies, and it's not just about prevention. It's making sure that you safeguard your life with care and with foresight.
So well said, Ureta. Tanya, I want to turn to you in a moment, but just before we do, multiple sclerosis, in layman's terms, is your immune system drunk texting your nervous system. Okay? So it's an autoimmune disease, which means Tanya's body is attacking itself, but it's not throwing a tantrum. It's going straight for the brain and the spinal cord with some serious neurological consequences. Okay? Multiple sclerosis. So, Tanya, tell us a bit about your experience, how your journey started with MS.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I was diagnosed 13 years ago, and I still, when I tell the story, it feels as if it was like yesterday. So it's something that's still instilled in me. So it started, and I was telling the story previously, so a few days prior, I was working, and I was constantly making spelling mistakes and constantly correcting them and remaking spelling mistakes. And I thought to myself, I'm tired. And I'm a big gamer, believe it or not. So I've got my own man cave where I collect figurines. And one day I just played the whole weekend through. And that Monday I woke up with pins and needles on my upper arm. And I thought it was going to go away. By the next day, it had spread to the bottom part of my arm. By the Wednesday, I couldn't utilize my whole arm. It was so swollen. Went to physiotherapy, and they said it's a pinched nerve because of the gaming and so forth. And that Monday, I landed up with a GP. And when I sat there in the office, we were there for a very long time with my husband, and he took a BMI tape, funny enough, from one of the events we did with Michael Moll many years ago, and my hand-eye coordination wasn't working. And he said to me, take the BMI tape and pick it up. And I couldn't. I would pick it there, I would shoot, and I could see it, but I could not pick it up. And when I finally got to it, I couldn't hold it in my hands. So my hand opens voluntarily. My left hand now doesn't work at all. So it works, but it's clumsy, for lack of a better word. That Tuesday we went in, did a series of tests at the hospital, did various hours of MRIs, trying to understand what the problem is. Is it a pinched nerve? Then eventually, because they kept on asking me, but what is your diagnosis? What is wrong? And then they decided to do a brain MRI. After several blood tests, almost after 7 o'clock, the neurologist walked in and he said, we're doing a lumbar puncture. And I thought I was there and then going to die. I have the biggest phobia for needles. He then put up the scans on my brain, and he said, look at your brain. It's full of lesions. Initially, I was diagnosed with transverse myelitis because I thought it would normalize, but after a while, certain things normalized, but the effects are still there. And that's when they diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis.
Sure.
So as you can imagine, my day-to-day was impacted. My speech sometimes is impacted, my walking, my talking, my writing, and even holding things is impacted.
Wow. Tanya, thank you for sharing so personally. Just to say, if you're battling with your spelling, you don't need an MRI just yet, okay? That was one of the things that led to... we've got so little time. Can I save questions for afterwards? Thank you, though. But that just shows a great engaged audience member. I love that. Ureta, question for you. In the first few critical weeks, what needs to be done once the diagnosis is made? And how important is, well, it's vitally important, financial resilience in this instance?
So, Michael, first of all, what does critical illness do? Basically, when you're diagnosed with a critical illness, that's defined and for which the medical criteria that we stipulate is met, it will pay out a lump sum. So that lump sum is what gives you the financial flexibility and security to be able to make lifetime decisions at a point in time that's very difficult. So I'll use the example just to explain this a little bit better. So we had a claimant, his name was Francis. He was around 50 years old and also a financial advisor. He was an avid pilot and he also loved traveling across the African mainlands. But he also suffered from severe back pain, and he regularly had to have some form of back surgery. And he went in for probably his 5th or his 4th back surgery, in particular a lumbar disc surgery. He woke up and he was already anxious about the pain is going to be caused post the surgery. But in actual fact, he felt nothing. The doctor came in and said, "We are sorry. There was a mistake, an error. We hit a nerve and you're paralyzed from this day forward." In an instant, his life changed completely. Can you imagine the emotional, the psychological trauma to having to deal with this? And then suddenly, what's next? Wheelchair costs are 45,000 rand. You need to make adaptations to your home, your car, another 300,000 rand. Just the fact that you need to go to a physiotherapist for the rest of your life, twice a week, 1,200 rand a session. You need bladder and bowel management supplies because it's not working anymore. 4,500 rand for the rest of your life. What would you do if you don't have the money? We couldn't fix his legs, but at least we gave him some form of security and at least a promise that there will be a future for him and his family.
Sure.
The financial resilience that critical illness gives you is that we can't prevent the storm, but at least the water won't waste what you've built up over a lifetime.
Very well said. Tweet that or X that or whatever you do with that. That's Tanya, you've lived this. So what's been your experience of the unexpected and the ongoing costs associated with your critical illness?
Well, so over and above, I think the challenge that you have living with this critical illness is all these expenses that also comes through. So my husband and I have been in a very fortunate position that we were able to build our house from scratch. And it's things such as you could see, I can't do steps. I can't judge depth. So we had to build a house that doesn't have any steps. I have to be able to have enablements throughout the house to help me to hold on to. Things such as your car. Your car needs to be as automatic as possible because I can't feel under my feet. So it's things like that you have to modify. The items around you, colors in the house are on the walls, lights, so forth. You need to modify it in order for you to be able to try and live a normal life. But over and above that is the expenses of having to see a specialist. Because I don't have only one specialist, I have a series of specialists because, as Dr. Mike Moles explained, MS affects not only your nervous system, with that it affects everything else. So you see an ophthalmologist, you see a urologist, and the list goes on. You have to do blood tests to make sure that all the medication is not impacting your liver and your kidney. The most expensive cost is the medication. So when I was diagnosed, I was in denial. And then, unfortunately, I had my first relapse in 2017. I have a major phobia for needles. And the only treatment back then was to have injections. And I said, I won't be able to do this. Then a new drug came into South Africa, and there was 2,500 people in America taking it, and I was the 44th person they recommended. Back then, that tablet was over 15,000 rand a month. So we phoned as many pharmacies that we could to try and see, could we get it cheaper? And no one wanted to stock it because of the cost, as you can imagine. Luckily, through the years, a lot of other drugs have come into the country, and the cost has reduced significantly. But it's close to 5,000 rand a month, but I take close to 13 tablets or more a day. Sure. And that's just one. So there is a significant expense when it comes to medicine for you to keep a normal lifestyle.
And let's not forget the speeding fines, because obviously she has no feeling under her feet, so has no idea how heavy she is in the accelerator, so, you know.
I try.
Yeah, it's a great excuse.
It does flash. It does flash.
It does flash.
It does flash.
Yeah, fancy car. You read, a lot of people think the story ends once the claim is paid out. But as we've heard from Tanya, that's just the beginning of the journey. So what happens after the payout?
So, Michael, this journey can be quite short or quite long, depending on the type of diagnosis that you have and the severity thereof. We always say at Momentum, we provide you with breadth of cover. For that particular reason, you might be diagnosed with an early cancer. in which the event, hopefully you can get treatment quite soon, and you can go into remission, and many individuals can live healthily after that. Some might identify that they've got heart palpitations, go to the doctor, there might be a blockage, and they will insert a stent, and hopefully with some lifestyle changes, can continue to live a healthy and full life. However, for some individuals, the diagnosis is more severe, or it progresses, or there's a relapse of the cancer over a period of time. And this is the type of protection that we want to give our clients, either upfront, and you've got the financial ability to manage that illness, and then there are further payments that can be made in the event of a progression, or maybe a new diagnosis is made. For individuals like Tanya, that is diagnosed with a condition, and like they say, you most likely will be able to have a normal lifespan, like anyone of us. However, it is quite a debilitating one in the event of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and so forth. So at least there we provide benefits that can pay a regular income to you every 5 years while you are basically living with condition over a long period of time. The most important thing about once it's been diagnosed, then it is too late. Don't let life surprise you, because at that point in time, the diagnosis has already been made. You will probably then be unable to get insurance cover to get you the necessary protection, whether it is in terms of critical illness or income disability or even death cover. And that is so important, is making sure that you act early, because that is what's going to make the difference for you.
Sure. And that's a bit of your story too, isn't it, Tanya? I mean, how did you manage your financial planning after your diagnosis? And maybe tell us a bit about before too.
Absolutely. So the reason why I'm here today, and this is an important message I want to get across, is that I am uninsurable. So I cannot get any cover. And I was sitting in the study with my husband, and we got a group email to say, you can now increase your benefits to 10 times. My husband turned to me and said, Pops, get onto it, start doing it. I said to him, yeah, I'm still too young. Well, I'll get to it. In the mind, I'm still young. What's going to happen tomorrow? 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed. Okay, I cannot increase my benefit 10 times more. So unfortunately, I will benefit, but my husband won't benefit from me. So that's the unfortunate situation, because I cannot get any cover. That's, I think, the first thing. And the message I actually want to leave is, when you do get your first paycheck, ensure that you have all your financial affairs in order, and speak to a Momentum financial advisor and get those things in place. Have your medical aid, have what you need, have your critical illness, your life insurance policies. Put those things in place before it's too late. I'm going to repeat, I'm uninsurable. I cannot get disability cover, cannot get crit, nor can I get life cover.
Pause for emphasis. Tanya, thank you for sharing that. My eldest son is off payroll now, got his first paycheck in January. We put him he gave him straight to a financial advisor. He's covered, all sorted, and literally a few weeks ago was in Indonesia for a surfing doctors conference. Caught one of the waves of his life, took his shoulder out, dislocated, dragged across the corals, got back, all his doctor mates laughing at him, pulled his collar back and said, pulled his shoulder back and said, you're so lucky, because most guys break their necks on that particular wave. He's 25. It happens just like that. So thank you for that reminder to make sure there is cover in place and to be insurable. Eureka, I want to quickly talk about something that frustrates a lot of people in this particular, over and above the diagnosis, is a delay in the payment of claims. Why does that happen, and how can we avoid that?
Thank you, Michael. I suppose it's the perception of a delay. Often when you look at an insurance payout, one might be in terms of a savings product that you've got, and the other one is your critical illness cover. In terms of a savings benefit, that benefit I can pay out to you tomorrow. As soon as I confirm your banking details, you've been fee cut, immediately that payment can be done. But in terms of the critical illness, it does take a bit more time. We have to look at whether the conditions that you have been diagnosed with actually meets the criteria specified in our policy terms and condition. And have you met the medical criteria and was that evidence as part of the diagnosis. So we need to obtain all the medical records, the lab results from the doctor to be able to do that assessment. What makes critical illness a lot easier is because it is defined, because we know what medical evidence to check for. For instance, if you have a heart attack, we need to check if there's any ECG changes or whether you have elevated cardiac enzymes. And according to that, we can then determine whether benefit is payable.
So what you're saying is if you're going to have a heart attack, what you're really saying is make it a real heart attack, like make a proper just bam. None of this like light heart attack stuff.
Now, Michael, it's not the heart palpitations you cause when you come around the corner for the ladies.
I'll be quiet. You carry on, your Rita.
But it does take, it isn't an instant payment. This is a life-changing medical condition that you have been diagnosed with. So the intention is not to make it take long. It's just to make sure that we can actually confirm the diagnosis. And as Tanya mentioned, sometimes a number of medical tests need to be done before they can actually confirm what the diagnosis is and if there are any residual symptoms afterwards. Medicine is not, and it isn't a one-size-fits-all. Every one of us in here is unique. Our circumstance is different, and our medical profile looks a little bit different. So I don't think it's a delay per se, Michael. It's just slightly different to a normal bank account, for instance, or
That's the
investment policy.
Yeah. Tanya, we've been talking about who's got your back, but tell us in your experience, what were the most important support systems that really held you up through this time?
I must say that my biggest support system is my husband. So, and I just realized that tomorrow is our 16 years wedding anniversary.
Hey.
So he's my biggest support system, and we laugh every day. And I think that's the most important. But I'm not going to take away from the fact that my family and my friends are also support system, and my colleagues at work. The one thing, and I mentioned it in the previous group, is I never want people to pity me. So I never want them to feel sorry for me. I don't want people to constantly be helping me. If I need help, I'll ask you. If I need help walking, I'll bring my walking stick, but I also don't want people to know what's going on. So it's definitely having a strong support system in your family, your friends, your colleagues, but also to ensure that you have financial support system as well. So that also plays a critical role, because if your finances is also not right, it does impact you in the long run as well. And it does hamper the family as well.
Congratulations on your 16th anniversary, Pops.
Thank you.
Eureka, final question for you. Recovery isn't just about the body. It isn't just about physical recovery. It's about recovering life, maintaining life around the diagnosis. Tell me a bit more about that.
100%, Michael. Recovery is not just about surviving an event. It's the freedom to fight back and to recover on your own terms. You can make the decision, or you want to have the option to make the decision, whether it is for rehabilitation that you require, physiotherapy, or maybe you just want to take a step back and say, I want some time out. I'll rather spend this time with my family, go away and try and make as much memories as possible in a short space of time. You want to be able to have the financial resilience. You want peace of mind, a shield that is in place so that you can say, I've got this. Make sure that you plan early. Take back what you've heard today. Act today and you will thrive tomorrow.
Brilliant. So tweetable, Eureka. Tanya, I just want to say thank you before you close off.
Thank you.
For doing the hard thing. Getting up on stage, that's difficult. We had to dim that light because that light throws Tanya's complete balance off. It unsettles her. So, I mean, this is not easy. And you still share from your heart and your honest experience. So we honor that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What do you want to, thank you guys. That's
Thank you.
So close us out. What do you want to share with
So
us?
4 key takeaways, and Michael's going to love this one. So since I was diagnosed, you know that I've never gone on to Google to read what is multiple sclerosis. So never confuse your specialist or doctor's qualification for what Google or ChatGPT has to say.
Let's end it right there.
The second one is ensure that you have a strong support system, a positive mindset. When I was diagnosed, the neurologist said to me, a lot of people will walk out in a wheelchair, and I said to him, I'll prove you wrong, and I did. It took me longer, but you have to have a positive mindset, because your mindset impacts a lot of things. And the last one is, and the most important thing for me, because I'm an advocate for that, because I'm uninsurable, partner with a financial advisor. When you have that first paycheck, your younger self will thank you. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for listening.
Tanya, Yurita, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate that. Closing thought before the music goes up. I became a doctor because of a critical illness. My late uncle was a medical student, 23, drove home from the hospital one day, pulled off his car on the side of the road, had a massive stroke, had a berry aneurysm, died. I was born a year later. I took his name, and I'd studied medicine to finish what my uncle Michael started. I carried his bag right throughout med school with this old leather bag with his name anagrammed on the side. And let me tell you, when you're battling through physics, there's nothing like a dead uncle to motivate you. But in that physics class, and it was hard, I remember a fellow student standing up and saying to the professor, mid-lecture, "Why do we have to study physics as doctors?" And this professor just said, "Because physics saves lives." And the student went, "But Professor, how does physics save lives?" And I'll never forget his answer. He said, "Physics saves lives because it keeps idiots like you out of med school." But on a serious note, physics, sure, saves a few lives. But if you talk about saving life and avoiding a critical illness, what works is the day-to-day decisions we make, the habits we keep that reduce our risk, and then having a clear understanding of who's got your back for when that curveball comes, because it just might. Guys, thank you for spending the afternoon with us. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye. God bless you guys.